If you were a kid in the late 1990s or early 2000s and you woke up in the middle of the night and turned on the TV, you'd be sure to turn on the TV to Poor Man's Bikini Beach.
1,000 girls in bikinis, controversy, beautiful girl events, fights, bikini contests, cops, comedy, and oh, did we mention 10,000 girls in bikinis? Poor Man's Bikini Beach.
Now, this show is basically what it says it is. A guy called Poor Man going on a beach looking for bikinis. But the question I think we all wanted to know was, who was the Poor Man? Well, the man and the myth and legend turned out to be James Trenton. He was actually a big-time radio host in the 1980s. He had started by just interviewing independent labels and independent bands, such as No Doubt. That was actually the first interview No Doubt had with a radio station. James Trenton would later on go into developing a new segment on the radio station called Dateline. For some of you that are familiar with this, this was a segment that basically turned into dating services. People would call in, talk about love problems, and there would be someone there to help them. But this later turned out to be a huge problem, seeing how James Trenton had no certification in any of that at all. So he would later on leave it to one of his friends who was actually a 4-year medical therapist into that field, and he would then be making Poor Man's Bikini Beach. Poor Man's Bikini Beach was prone for success, seeing how he had the name Poor Man from K-Rock, and he had anything a guy wanted in a show. Babes, bikinis, and the beach. Who knew? Poor Man would keep the show running until 2011. That's when he decided to cancel the show and go and search for other opportunities, such as Wall Street. That's right, Wall Street. Poor Man decided he wanted to build Poor Man's Nation, in which this would be interviewing Wall Street journalists and basically change his whole view on what he was doing with Poor Man. As a shock like it was for us, it was a shock for everyone else, in which why this only lasted literally months and it was shut down. Now, since 2019, James Trenton is back as the Poor Man on the Poor Man's Morning Rush. You could hear him on KOCI, basically just telling you the morning stuff. But as for the legacy of the Poor Man Bikini Beach, we were just lucky to live it. Cheers.